Kidnap by me. And we are on chapter 10. Captain Arton and his men arrived 2 days later. The whole city was busy with the preparations for tonight's party. Lady Flora had everyone, both Garlanian and Arthenians, busy at work. Nerissa was helping me practice the steps to the dance. Galen had showed me. I kept the fact that we had kissed to myself. After practicing, she asked me, "So, have you picked out what you're going to wear tonight?" Sitting down in a chair, I smiled, saying, "I haven't really thought about it." She laughs, "Really? And how many times have you looked through that?" I paused, my finger on the wardrobe pad I held in my hands. I rolled my eyes at her, tossing the device onto the coffee table. I calmly reply, "I don't know what you're talking about." I glance up at Nerissa, who is sitting on the edge of her dad's desk, grinning back at me. Shaking my head, I continue, "Okay, so I am a bit nervous, so sue me." She replies, "What would you have to be nervous about? Are you scared he will kiss you again?" I gasp, looking up at her. "How long have you known?" "I didn't tell anyone." "Has he?" Nerissa giggles, saying, "Galen has been just as quiet as you about it." "The soldier who interrupted you too." Well, told his wife, who told her sister, who told her cousin, and well, you know how that goes. I cry. "What? You're joking, right?" Nerissa shakes her head, giggling. I ask, "How many people know Nerissa?" She clears her throat, saying, "I don't think the citizens in the bottom city know yet." I glare at her. "That is a joke, right?" Nerissa grimaces. "Sorry, but no, I'm not joking. Look on the bright side. A lot of people are betting for the two of you." I reply, "That's not funny, Nerissa." She stands up, walking over to the chair next to mine. Sitting down, she says, "Well, I'm not joking about that either. Philip and Tommy are kind of running some bets on you two." I jump up, feeling more embarrassed than angry. I begin to pace back and forth, saying, "What? They're not doing that. When I get my hands on the two of them, I'll..." Nerissa laughs, saying, "You're overreacting. Calm down. Everything will be fine. Galen said he was going to, speak to them." I turn, looking at Nerissa. I reply, "This is so embarrassing. What must everyone think? How can I show my face tonight?" Nerissa sighs. "It was only a kiss, so stop worrying about it." It was only a kiss, right?" I gasp. "Yes, it was only a kiss. But we are about to go to war, and we only just signed the treaty. I then go and let him kiss me. We barely know each other." I continue pacing, saying, "It's just the timing is all wrong. I should have kept everything businesslike." Nerissa grabs me by my arm, laughing as she exclaims, "Stop it. You've done nothing wrong. So suck it up and let's go pick out a knockout dress for you to wear." With that, she drags me back to my room. We spent the rest of the day getting ready for the party. I walked with Nerissa to the grand ballroom where the party was being held. I truly felt like a princess in the beautiful blue and white dress I wore. It had a scalloped neck, and from the waist down, soft organza-like ruffles trailed down the front. My hair was pulled back into a jewel band that left the back falling with soft curls. I slowly entered through the doors to the ballroom. The circular ballroom was huge, with a ceiling made of glass. The stars and 2 moons that could be seen made the night seem magical. Half of the room had elegant tables set up, while the other half was left for the dance floor. I tried not to search the room for Galen, wondering where he could be. I hadn't seen him since the night we kissed. I hoped he was not avoiding me. Nerissa assured me that it was due to all the preparations for the battle. That was why I had not seen him. Spotting the captain and Lady Flora, we walked over to where they are sitting. Captain Arton stands bowing to me as he says, "I had feared the worst, my lady. I am pleased to find My worries were not needed. Your grandfather would have been proud of you. You have accomplished what he had always desired, peace for both our people. I smiled weakly at him. Thank you, Captain Arton, but I am not the leader of the Garlanians yet. I am hesitant to celebrate until Larg has been dealt with, and the rest of the Garlanians are free from his rule. Captain Arton motioned for us to sit down at the table with them. He surprised me with a smile, which I hadn't seen him do until now. He says, your fears are well placed, my lady. We will win the battle that is to come. That I am sure of. I nod, saying, I just wish there was some other way than war. I don't wish for anyone to be harmed. Captain Arton leans back in his chair, staring at me. He replies, war is never pretty, Princess Narisha. Death is always a part of it. But Galen has informed me that the Artanian scientist is coming up with something to lessen the loss. Lady Flora and Nerissa looked just as surprised as I felt. My fears lessened a little, feeling that there was some hope. I look at him, waiting for him to continue, but instead he says, I don't wish to go into details at this moment. He holds up his hand to silence any questions we each had. He continues, they are still working on the device. I do not wish to get anyone's hopes up. With that, he motions for the servants to bring us some drinks while we wait for the food to be served. The food that was served was as beautiful as it was delicious. There was different types of seafood, as well as a fowl that oddly tasted like chicken. They served a variety of fruits and vegetables that was unlike anything on earth. Nerissa whispers, be careful with the honey fruit. It can be a bit intoxicating, unless you have built up a tolerance to it. Thanking her, I made a note to myself to avoid it altogether. I sat listening to the music that was being played. It was unlike anything I had ever heard before now. The melody was very enchanting as it filled the ballroom. Excuse me. I was so lost in the music that I did not hear Galen approach us. Good evening, ladies. Galen says as he arrives at our table, he stands with his arms behind his back, staring at the Captain Arton. Nodding at the captain, he says, Arton. It was a bit surprising to see them not at each other's throats. Galen looks down at me, saying, shall we? Holding his hand out to me, I could feel everyone at the table turn to look at me. Nerissa exclaims, wait, never mind. As I take a quick sip of the fruity honey-like juice that had been poured for me. Inhaling a deep breath, I take his hand and follow him out on the dance floor. I follow his lead as he takes me into his embrace. I could feel everyone's eyes on us as we dance. Feeling my cheeks burning, I keep my eyes focused on the top buttons of his white shirt. You look stunning tonight, my princess, he says, his breath fanning my hair. I smile, looking at him. I reply, thank you. You're not too bad yourself either. Closing my eyes, I thought, great comeback, Dee. Clearing my throat, I quickly say, I mean, you look very handsome too. Galen chuckled, saying, thank you. I look at our hands intertwined, wishing this moment could last forever. I felt him watching me intently. Feeling a little vulnerable, I tried to think of something to talk about. I say, you and Captain Arton seem to have worked out your differences. Galen smiles, replying, you mean I'm not trying to take his head off anymore? My eyes widen, I say, no, that's not. Galen says, interrupting me, I know. We have a treaty now between our people. If I was to kill Arton, one of the Garlanians' commanding officers, how do you think they would react? He continued answering his own question. It would mean the end to any peace for both of our peoples. That I will not allow. I smile sadly at him. We dance in silence for some time. I sigh, saying, I wish this night wouldn't end. Everyone seems so happy now. Say, 2 more days is all we have, right? until we are at war with my own people. What good is a peace treaty if there is still no peace, Galen? Galen leans down, gently kissing my forehead, saying, there will be peace. I promise you that. We are going to win, Dorothy. We have to. Feeling warm all over, I giggle, smiling up at him. I whisper, you're my prince in shining armor, aren't you? Wrapping my arms around his neck, I pull him closer to me. I could tell he was a little shook at my sudden change of mood, but I didn't care because I felt like I was lighter than air. I smile up at him, saying, when you were researching Earth history, did you happen to study Earth's dances? I continue, not letting him speak. We dance much closer like this. I move dancing around him, wrapping my arms back around his neck as I came back to face him. I kiss him and ask, did you see the movie Dirty Dancing? I wink at him. His eyes grow huge. Galen exclaims, Dorothy, I don't think that would be. He pulls my arms from around his neck, stopping me from kissing his lips again. Pouting, I cry, but they're just begging to be kissed. Don't you want to kiss me? I stumble slightly, walking alongside him. He places his arm around me, keeping me upright. He responds, you don't know how much, but not like this. By the time we walk back to Captain Arton's table, I was feeling numb all over. Galen gently guides me into my chair. He asks, something is wrong with her. What has she had to eat and drink? Nerissa replies, calm down. You're going to blow a vein or something. Galen glares at her, saying, Nerissa, if you're the cause. She glares back at him, saying, I didn't do anything. She took a sip of the honey juice, that's all. Galen's voice turned to a low growl as he says, why didn't you stop her? We don't know what type of effect it can have on her. Lady Flora replies, fighting back a smile. We do now. I slowly pull my head up off my arm, saying, I am right here, you know. I feel perfectly fine, just a little loopy, but fine. I set my head back on my arms, feeling like the room spinned out of control. Nerissa leans towards me, rubbing my back, saying, you're going to be fine. It was just one little sip. Galen kneels down beside me, saying, she better be. Looking at him, I smile, running my finger down his nose. I ask, you're worried about me. That's so sweet. Isn't he so cute? I blow a kiss at him. The women at the table start to giggle at Galen's discomfort. He stands up, saying, we should get you to bed. Arton, could you notify the doctor to come to Dorothy's room for me? Captain Arton nods, his eyes twinkling as he replies, of course. I declare, standing up quickly, slurring my words. Look, I'm fine. I turned to walk out onto the dance floor, but felt myself falling instead. I braced myself for the hard floor, but the pain never comes. Instead, I found myself in Galen's arms. I look up into his eyes, thinking he was truly my prince in shining armor. I laid in my bed as Galen and Zan fussed over me. Galen wouldn't let Zan leave until he was sure the juice that I had drunk was not poisonous to me. Zan said after checking his test results for the third time, I assure you, Prince Galen, that she will recover. She is only intoxicated, the poor thing. Zan patted my foot. I will check on you in the morning, my dear. Good night. He bowed to us, then turned quickly, leaving us alone in the room. I smile up at Galen as he pulls the blankets up over me. I pat the space beside me. Sit with me, please. He hesitantly sits down on the bed. I smile at him, whispering, tonight was wonderful. He smiles back at me, shaking his head. I hope you will still feel that way in the morning. I sit up quickly, swaying slightly. I exclaim, I will, you'll see. Tonight was perfect. You were perfect. I stare into his eyes dreamily. Leaning towards him, I pucker up my lips, waiting. When he does not kiss me, I respond, well, I'm waiting. I felt the bed move. I opened my eyes, looking up at Galen's back. He was rubbing his forehead. I asked, what's wrong? Don't you want to kiss me? When he didn't answer me, I felt my heart sink. I exclaimed, oh no. I got it all wrong, haven't I? I've been acting like a silly schoolgirl and scared you off. I'm sorry. Suddenly, Galen was beside me. He said, you haven't done anything wrong. Don't cry, love. He gently wipes away my tears. lifting my chin up so I would look him in the eyes. He says, I do have feelings for you. Very strong feelings for you, Dorothy. But you're not thinking straight right now. Look at you. You're in your nightgown with me in your bed. I smile up at him, my thoughts centering on the fact that he cares for me. I sigh. You do care for me. Then kiss me. I pull my legs under me, wrapping my arms around his neck. I kiss him hard on the lips. Galen places his hands on my upper arms, pushing me slightly away from him. He says, Dorothy, stop. I ask why. Galen sighs. This is not how I want this to happen. I don't feel the same way right now. But you don't feel the same way right now, but you will in the morning. You'll understand, he continues, not letting me speak. Athenians' ways are what humans called old-fashioned. We marry first before, well, that. I blush, saying, but I only wanted a kiss, Galen. I wasn't trying to get you to sleep with me. He squeezes my arms lightly, saying, I don't think I could stop with just one kiss. I felt myself melting into him as I sigh. I touch his cheek, saying, I'll stop you, so you don't have to be afraid. Kiss me goodnight. He starts to say something, but instead he shakes his head, smiling. He lowers his lips onto mine, kissing me gently at first, but with a low growl, he pulls me tightly against his chest, wrapping his arms around me. My hands move up his arms, into his hair, as we lose ourselves into this one moment. I pulled gently on his hair as one of his hands moved up my stomach slowly towards my chest. I sigh against his lips, stopping his hand. I gave you my word. I rub my nose gently against his nose. He moves his hands safely to my arms. He says, I'll see you in the morning. Hopefully you won't be too embarrassed. I smile at him. I exclaim, never. I smile, watching him trying not to look me over. He shakes his head, smiling. Good night, my princess. He bows towards me, then turns and quickly leaves the room. I fall back against my pillows, giggling. Biting my lower lip, I pull the blankets over my head, falling fast asleep. I was completely and totally mortified as I sat on the balcony with Nerissa and Lady Flora. It had took them all morning just to talk me out of bed. The worst part was that I could remember every little detail, like an artist had painted a mural showing the whole night events in my head with subtitles. I sat at the table with my hands covering my face. I exclaimed, talking through my hands. I feel like I had a whole bottle of tequila. Ugh. But why couldn't I have forgotten everything too? Nerissa sighs cheerfully. That's the best thing about the honey fruit. It leaves your mind completely clear and focused the next day. The headache is the downside. I grunt. Tell me about it. Lady Flora whispers, oh, you poor thing. Here, drink this. It is my own herbal remedy. It will work wonders, you'll see. I grimace as I sip it. She adds, sorry, it's not very pleasant tasting. Nerissa sighs. I am surprised you had such a strong reaction to it. You only had one sip. Your human side must have a low tolerance level. I peek at her through my fingers, saying, really, you think? Nerissa sighs, stirring her tea. She replies, you don't have to be snappy. I did try to stop you. I roll my eyes at her regret in the movement when I was rewarded with a stab of pain. Nerissa smiles, exclaiming, oh no, I hate to tell you this, but Galen is headed this way. I gasp, no. I can't see him right now. I'm not ready. Tell him to go away, please. Lady Flora replies, too late, dear. I could see her waving at someone behind me. Galen, how wonderful to see you. Join us. With my hands on either side of my face, I glare at her. I could hear his footsteps coming closer, and I didn't look up when I heard the chair beside me being pulled out. He asked, how are you feeling? I knew the question was directed to me. Without looking, I replied, awful. I peek at him through my fingers. He sat there staring at me, one of his hands covering the smile that he was trying hard to hide. As he leaned on the table, I grumbled, saying, "You can go now." It was killing me to be sitting at the same table with him, knowing how I had behaved last night. In my nightgown, no less. I thought to myself, Lady Flora gasped, "Dorothy, that is no way to speak to the prince. You have to forgive her, Your Highness. She is really not herself today." Galen replies, "It's fine. I've had to live through the aftermath of that very same fruit myself." He pushes his chair back, adding, "I have to get back to work anyway." I knew I hadn't offended him because I could hear the humor in his voice. He steps over beside me, bending down. He then kisses me on the top of my head. He says, "You'll feel better in a few days." I gasp, looking up at him. "What?" He starts chuckling as I bury my face in my arms on the table. He moves his hand gentle over my hair. "Goodbye." I listen to his footsteps as he walks away. I didn't see Galen again until the day we were to attack Lark's army. I stand in my room, looking out at the activity outside my window. All the women and children were quickly hurrying to the center city. During our training, Galen had explained to me that middle of the city could disconnect from the platforms around it. Okay, I'm going to stop here for right now and continue later. Thank you for listening.